Delighted to have our good buddy, once again, Bob Casper with us. You can hear him every single Saturday from 6 to 9 a.m. Real Golf Radio. It's on 1280 The Zone or on FM 97.5. And Bob, you're in L.A. right now getting ready for the U.S. Open. First of all, I heard the weather is like pristine. Couldn't be whatever you brought, that's what you can wear.
You know, the last 2 days we've been here so far, it's been perfect. It's been about 70 degrees. Kind of very typical Southern California weather with the June gloom, you know, that marine cloud layer, and just a nice little slight breeze coming in off the ocean. But the golf course is beautiful. It's in great shape, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys play it because there's not a lot of guys that have seen it before.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Never held a major. It's never even held a PGA event. Walker Cup was there a few years back. If you played at UCLA or in the Pac-12 school, you might be a little bit familiar with it. But for a lot of these guys, this is going to be a first look. How will it affect, and by the way, don't forget what the U.S. Open does to a golf course. How is that going to affect a lot of these guys that have never even seen this course?
Well, and, you know, we were talking, Brian and I had a chance from Real Golf Radio, had a chance to play it during the media day here about 6 weeks ago. It's a golf course that you need to do some homework on because you have an opportunity to really decide where you're going to hit the balls on these courses, on these holes. Some of the holes slope right to left, and you need to hit your ball opposite coming into those slopes so that it slows it down so it just doesn't run off and go down into the rough. And the rough is very difficult. So having said that, it's a test that is going to be really interesting. It reminds some of the players, Rory was saying, it reminds him of the Sandbelt in Australia or like a Pinehurst or a Shinnecock.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that guys have to prepare for as far as this golf course is concerned.
Yeah, I was watching today at the U.S. Open, and they were going through 3D of some of those holes, and you're right. I could not believe the way they were just kind of crooked going into the hole. It's really it's going to be a challenge. Given that, who are a couple of guys that you think that may have an advantage because of the fact that they might be more familiar with this course, having played in Southern California or in the Pac-12 or UCLA or that kind of thing?
Well, and the guys that come to mind are Scotty Scheffler, the #1 player in the world, and he's playing some great golf right now, although his putter has been a little bulky. And he hasn't made a lot of putts over his last few events, but he's won twice this year, and in 16 starts, he's 12 or 13 top tens. So he would be a guy that I would look at definitely this week. Rory's game is starting to come around. He struggled a little bit, but he's played some good golf recently. I would think a guy like Max Homa, who is from Southern California area, he's probably played this golf course many, many times. And during the Pac-12 championship, which he won, he shot 66, which is still the course record, 61, which is still the course record here at LA North. And then Colin Morikawa, who also played in the Walker Cup along with Scotty Scheffler and a few of the other guys. Those guys have the inside track right now because they play this golf course. They understand about it. They know about the greens. There's a lot of things that go on with this golf course in driving the ball in the fairway, but then into the greens, because the greens have these bunkers around them that are really deep and kind of have like little fingers in them and stuff. But the fescue grass is like 4 or 5 or 6 inches around these bunkers, and if you hit it in that stuff, it's going to be extremely difficult to get it out.
Well, you mentioned the rough. I mean, anytime you play in the U.S. Open, you're going to have deep rough. That's just what they do to the course.
Right.
How much different will this play than in all those other times that you mentioned, whether it's a Walker Cup or the Pac-12 championship? It can't possibly be laid out as difficult as it will be this week. No. What has the USGA done to this course that you've seen so far that's going to make it a challenge?
Well, I've told you about that fescue grass that's around the bunkers. The greens are going to be quick. Normally when you come to Southern California, you have greens that have Poana grass on them. Well, these aren't. These have bent grass. And so the greens are going to be extremely fast and they have a lot of slope in them. So you're going to need somebody that's putting well, that's going to do well this week. Also, you've got to get the ball in the fairway, because if you don't get it in the fairway and it runs off into the rough, then you're looking at Bermuda grass that's 4 to 5 inches deep. And Bermuda grass is a grass where a ball's not going to hold up and kind of stay on top. It's going to drop all the way to the bottom, to the ground. And then if you don't catch a good lie with it doing that, then you're not going to be able to advance it very far. You're going to have to take a wedge out and hit it down the fairway probably 100 yards, and then hit your next shot into the green. So the USGA is trying to get this golf course a lot drier. Yesterday we had sun, but we didn't have it today. So they're still not quite accepting of where the golf course is right now, but they feel over the next few days it will come to them to where it's going to be really difficult on Saturday and Sunday.
I was going to say the USGA, they're never happy until a course is almost impossible. Am I right?
Yeah. They like difficult stuff. John Bodenhammer, who is the chief of competitions, basically, with the USGA. He went to school at BYU, and he said that he wants the guys to hit every club in their bag every day, get every club dirty, and including the club between their ears or their mental capacity. They want to test that, and the best winner or the best player for the week will come out the winner.
Every single club in your bag. That's hilarious.
Yep.
It's a good way to put it, though. That describes it quite well.
Absolutely.
No question about that. Let me ask about our local guy, Tony Finau.
Okay.
What you've seen out of him, how this course plays into his game. What do you expect out of Tony this week?
I think this is going to be a great course for Tony, simply because he hits it a long ways. We were talking with Preston Summerhays yesterday, or excuse me, not Preston, but Boyd. Preston is also playing, Boyd's son. And he said there are a lot of wedge shots out there. There are some very difficult shots hole too, as well, and some long holes. But there are some scoring holes, definitely more than he's seen in the USGA Championship for a while. So with Tony's distance, I think this will be a good fit for him. His strength, if he hits it in the rough, that kind of thing. And there are a lot of holes also that you can run the ball up the front of the green. So Tony's big thing is, he's great in ball striking from the tee to the green. And if he chips and putts well, then Tony gives himself a chance and gets in the mix and gets in contention.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on him as well as Summerhays as well. Preston.
Yep, Preston.
That one.
Yep. Yeah. Preston's a great player. The cool thing about him in the story is that he made eagle on his final hole in qualifying.
Yeah.
To make it into a playoff, shot 62, and then he was able to win the playoff to get into the U.S. Open.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I got to ask you about this crazy matchup. I think we all, when we saw the Brooks Koepka Rory McIlroy thing, it was like, and then you've got, who else is in that group? I think Hideki Matsuyama, who's got the best seat in the house. Could you even, I don't even know how that could be coincidence, but what are you expecting out of that group? You got the anti-live and then the live's best player, and here they are paired up.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. When we were at the Masters earlier this year, Brooks was talking about how he was received by the players and stuff, and he goes, Rory and I play all the time in Florida,
really?
Where we live. And so I don't expect this to be contentious or anything at all. Most of the guys, especially the guys that play in the major championships on the PGA Tour, as well as the guys that have played with Live Golf, those guys are, they're competitors, they're friends. They made a choice to move and that type of thing, and they like the choice they made, and the players on the PGA Tour, they respect them for the choice they made. They don't necessarily like the live concept, which Rory doesn't, but when it comes down to it, all these guys are still pretty much friends, and Rory and Hideki and Brooks Koepka are going to be fine.
I'm glad you said that, because I think Brooks mentioned that yesterday. You were probably at his press conference and I think he said he was having breakfast somewhere when he first heard about the alliance, and then he just went back to preparing for the U.S. Open, and that was it. He hasn't been preoccupied with it, so it looks like, at least for now, they want to just get out on the course, have some fun, and of course be competitive. Is that accurate to say?
That's 100%. Every single guy that's come through the media center. Also the USGA guys, everybody's been asked the myriad of questions about LIV, about the PIF fund, and the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour merging and all that kind of thing. But you know what? When it gets down to it tomorrow, there's going to be shots hit off the first tee. And once those shots are hit and this golf tournament starts, we're not going to hear much about that stuff anymore.
Yep.
And it'll be great because it's all about the U.S. Open.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking for the weather being good down there. And Bobby, I can't let you go without a pick. You know, I hate to put you on the spot, but
yeah.
If you had to pick one, who's your guy? Who does this course line up for? Who's going to win it?
You know, it's tough not to go with the number one player in the world, especially the way he's been playing. So I've picked Scotty Scheffler as my first pick. And then if I'm going to pick somebody who's a little bit more dark horse that hasn't ever won a major championship, the two would be Max Homa, who lives here in Southern California, or Tony, of course.
Well, there you go. Perfect. I love those picks. All right, Bob, thanks so much for joining us. Catch Bobby with, and Brian Taylor's with you as well, right? Every Saturday morning. It's a national show. It's a great show, but you hear it locally from 6 to 9 a.m. every Saturday on, let's see, on 97.5 and on 1280 The Zone. Bob, thanks so much. Have fun down there in L.A.
Glad to do it, Dave. Thanks.